Acting like Gotti got Dolph killed.
Come on,
it's
man.
not that simple, right?
It's the energy.
So when your op gets killed, it don't matter if you had anything to do with it. From the fans' perspective, you might as well have.
You might as well have at this point because you lost all the. His last artist is GloRilla. She doing crazy because he putting a crazy bag behind GloRilla.
Yeah,
you know what I'm talking about. So GloRilla, she gonna shine regardless right now. But when he go over there and dealing with them Texas boys, them folk got hit up. Everywhere he go to, like the field watching. You know what I'm talking about? He signed that boy over here. That boy ended up going to jail. So they watching that boy so close right now because they you know what I'm talking about? The case is in August. You know what I'm talking about? I talked to Govi. I did an interview with.
If I love you, I'm in love with you. I don't give a fuck how many times we get it. We bump heads.
That's real.
You make me mad. I'm in love with you. Don't down me. I need you.
We gonna figure it out.
We gonna make it.
Yeah.
Ain't no figuring it out.
Here's the part nobody likes to say out loud. When Memphis heats up, Yo Gotti's name shows up in the conversation, whether he speaks or stays quiet. After Fast Cash, C-Money was killed, the city did what it always does. Grieved first, then started tracing the lines between grief and power. Fans looked to CMG for direction, to Big Boogie for clues, and to Yo Gotti, artist, boss, symbol, to see which version of him would step forward. What followed was a swirl of mourning, cryptic posts, canceled plans, and a silence that sounded louder than any tribute. This isn't about gossip, it's about pressure points, what C-Money's death meant on the street, what it revealed inside the label, and how Yo Gotti stands at the center of a story that keeps rewriting itself. When Yo Gotti made his relationship with Angela Simmons public, it felt like a victory lap. A carefully lit image of stability after years of headlines about rivalries and industry politics. The optics were clean, black love, luxury, discipline. Magazine-ready moments replaced the usual street chatter. For many, that shift softened the way they read Gotti's moves. A mogul with an empire, a partner who understands the cameras, and a brand that felt safer, brighter, family-centered. But public image doesn't erase local history. The same timeline that loved the yacht photos also remembers the funerals, the trials, the names painted on murals. So when C-Money's death hit, the carefully framed love story collided with the older Memphis story. Suddenly the question wasn't just whether Yo Gotti would speak, it was which version of him would show up. The polished executive who keeps the machine steady, the strategist shaped by a city that can turn success into a battlefield overnight, or the family man who chooses to grieve privately and let actions speak later. That tension, brand versus background, set the tone for everything that followed. C-Money had gravity, not superstar fame, but the kind of momentum that pulls a city towards you. The voice was magnetic, the delivery was memorable, and the rooms that mattered were starting to say his name with certainty. As the business side began to catch up to the talent, the conversation inevitably drifted towards CMG. Whether it was interest, a pending deal, or simply proximity, the effect was the same. Being on Yo Gotti's radar changes the temperature around you. Then came the shots. The blue lights. In the terrible morning everyone in Memphis recognizes too well. By daylight, grief had turned into questions. Why does tragedy keep arriving at the edge of opportunity? Why do celebrations so often end in sirens? Once people heard CMG might be in C-Money's next chapter, suspicion hardened. Was the loss collateral in a bigger struggle, or the ugly chaos of a city exhausted by calling violence random? No one could answer that right away, but the timing forced even patient people to start reading beyond the facts. If Yo Gotti had posted a refined tribute, written a careful message, and shown a public gesture of support, it would have reset the room. He didn't. The silence stretched. To some, that read as cold, to others, strategic. In an active investigation, silence can be smart. One sentence can echo forever online and complicate lives in ways a caption never intends. Silence can be respect, restraint, or legal common sense, but silence also has side effects. It creates a vacuum, and vacuums get filled with the stories people already want to tell. The questions get bigger. What does a label owe a city when the city is its origin story? What does a boss owe artists who wear his chain on stage? What does a public figure owe the public that crowned him? There isn't one rule. Still, the lack of any public signal turned the spotlight back on leadership. Depending on where you stand, Yo Gotti became either the steady hand who refuses to feed chaos, or the chess player who never reveals his move until it's done. Big Boogie didn't point fingers. He didn't name names. He wrote carefully. He canceled a birthday bash, narrowed his focus to his daughter, himself, and his work, and talked about growing colder to survive. To outsiders, that sounds vague. To Memphis, it reads like a siren. I'm adjusting. I'm not playing with this. Because Yo Gotti didn't speak, Boogie's words were treated like a barometer for the whole label. When the executive goes quiet, the artists become interpreters. Boogie's caution felt like a weather report. Clouds forming, visibility low, move accordingly. That translates into practical changes. Fewer public drop-ins in certain neighborhoods, stricter security, tighter circles, zero tolerance for loose talk. In that climate, a neutral move looks like a sign. If Boogie keeps a distance, people say he's signaling doubt in the boss. If he stands in the CMG frame, people say he's doubling down. When stakes rise, neutrality disappears. Grief plus unanswered questions is volatile. People start asking about contracts. Were they signed, nearly done, or still in negotiation? They ask about life insurance and plans for the kids. They see a fundraiser for funeral costs and struggle with the emotional math. If business was on the cusp, why does the community need to pass the hat? That contradiction is fertile ground for the internet's favorite word, sacrifice. Sacrifice shows up when timing is too sharp and power feels one-sided. It's the word people use when they don't have documents but feel like a pattern is writing itself. Does the word make the theory true? Does it make the conversation inevitable? Yes. That's where Yo Gotti's silence cuts both ways. On one hand, he didn't feed a rumor mill. On the other, the absence of a narrative allowed the rumor mill to define itself. People will always fill the void. If the label doesn't feed the story, the street will, and once the street names a story, it's hard to rename it. Memphis holds on to names. The city keeps score of lives lost and cases argued. That history is the weather system every new artist and executive has to navigate. No matter how many magazine covers feature Yo Gotti and Angela in polished ease, the local frame never fully fades. In one picture, he's the gentleman mogul, a partner with a softer light around him. In the other, he's the architect of a label whose artists live closer to danger than most boardrooms ever will. This is the dual life of the brand. You can sit front row at Fashion Week and still land home to whispered warnings about venues, routes, and which rooms to avoid. You can post Sunday brunch and still spend Monday tightening security for a hometown show. The brand is global. The risk is local. C-Money's death jammed both frames into the same picture. It's not an accusation to say that, it's a reality of how perception works here. The city will always read new events through old experience. That's not cynicism, that's survival. Running a label like CMG is mentorship, mediation, and risk management all at once. You shepherd ambition through a landscape that rewards flash and punishes hesitation. When things go right, you mint a hit and send an artist on tour. When things go wrong, you end up on the phone at 3 a.m., rearranging travel, canceling appearances, and warning people you love not to stand too close to the edge. From the outside, you see tremors, an artist goes quiet, a party gets pulled, someone loyal fades from the frame, someone new gets the push. None of that proves betrayal, it proves adaptation. But fans read patterns. They ask whether CMG is trimming weight to ride out the storm. They wonder if the acts that best match the new global brand, cleaner, mainstream, less combustible, get the most insulation, while the rawer voices are left to weather their own heat. In those questions, Yo Gotti becomes more than a man. He becomes a measurement. Are you close enough to his vision to be protected? Or does your temperature make him step back? That's a harsh calculus, but leadership rarely escapes harsh math. The uncomfortable question, by speaking carefully but consistently, did Big Boogie put a spotlight on himself? Some say he drew heat, others say he wrote the new handbook. Keep your circle tight. Say less. Let the music carry the noise. In that reading, he's not a target. He's a template for longevity. So where does that leave Yo Gotti? With a choice that defines this chapter, he can remain the chess-minded mogul, no reactive statements, no messy timelines, all business, all planning, or he can step forward and reset the tone, honor the dead publicly, rally support for the children left behind, and remind the city that CMG's roots are Memphis and its responsibility is too. Either path can work. The difference is timing and trust. If he speaks too late, people call it PR. If he never speaks, people call it cold. The right gesture at the right moment can cool a room faster than 1,000 comments. C-Money's loss is both mirror and mandate for Memphis. For fans, it's a call to honor the man over the rumor. For artists, a reminder that every choice, where you go, what you post, who stands beside you, can shape tomorrow. Inside CMG, this moment is a pressure test. Will the machine close ranks and move in silence, or step forward with visible support that cools the room and protects the ones still climbing? Yo Gotti stands at that crossroads. Whether he speaks or lets careful actions do the talking, the next move will define leadership more than any caption ever could. Big Boogie's playbook, tight circle, fewer words, louder work, looks less like fear and more like strategy. What happens next has to be bigger than theories. It's safer venues, smarter routes, real budgets for security, and a culture that values longevity as much as virality. Say C-Money's name with respect, support his family in real ways, and hold power, industry and civic, accountable for better outcomes. Memphis has always been more than the noise around it. It's the music that survives. Let the choices from here prove it.